The story surrounding why I decided to become a nurse is actually one that I love. My sister and I, we were about, I guess I must have been 13 and she was 14. We're home one day in New York in a very snowy day. There must have been 3 or 4, maybe 6 feet of snow, lots of snow on the ground, and it was very cold. And we were in watching TV, and on the news, there was a news flash of a strike at a local hospital that was a hospital where primarily for elderly people. The hospital was about a mile away from where we lived, and we watched the strike, and they asked for people to come and help feed the patients. They needed help. Just the nurses needed help. The people that were there, the aides, they didn't have enough people reporting, and people were striking. They were striking for either more wages or whatever the reason was, but they were striking. And so my sister and I just really wanted to get out of the house. And so we asked my parents, my dad was very strict, and we only went to either family's house or the neighbors. And so to go a mile away was not an easy thing to do. But we asked if we can go and help. And so my parents said, sure, go, just be careful and, go ahead. And so we walked in the snow, which was an adventure within itself, and we were away from home. But we walked in the snow, and we were having a great time. It was fun for us. We were away from home. We got to walk. We stopped and looked at the stores. And when we got to the hospital, I recall seeing a bunch of people in the front with signs and just picketing. And we kind of just meandered our way in between those people and got into the hospital and said, we're here to help. And back then, hospitals didn't have all the restrictions that they have now. You could never just walk into a hospital now. But in this situation, we did. And we said, just put us to work. And so we helped the nurses feed people and take temperatures and clean them up. Distribute medications, watch them take their medications, sit down and play cards with some of the older people, listen to them. They obviously were very grateful, but we were having a great time. We were away from home, but more importantly, it was such a satisfying experience just to interact with these people, and I sort of felt important. I felt like, wow, I'm doing a grown-up's job, and, nobody's saying don't do this. And so I watched those nurses, and I watched the aides, and I watched the people that were there. And I learned at that moment that I really loved that. I loved what I was doing. And from then on, I became a candy striper, which was a volunteer at a hospital. In the 70s, a candy striper was very similar to some of the people that you see in the hospital now that volunteer with a little jacket, except we wore a little uniform that was red and white with a white shirt underneath. And so I became a candy striper, and that only opened up my love and my desire to become a nurse.